The emergency beacon flickered on my console like a dying star, and I should have ignored it. Really, I should have. But no, Krell the Curious, they call me back on Vexian Prime. Krell the Idiot is more accurate. Another distress signal, my co-pilot Dax muttered, his triple-jointed fingers dancing across the navigation panel. Third one this cycle. Want to bet it's another human doing something spectacularly stupid? I should mention something about humans. They're the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, and they've made quite the impression. Not a good one, mind you. They're reckless, illogical, and possess this irritating tendency to survive situations that would liquefy most sentient beings. The Galactic Council has a betting pool on how long it'll take before they accidentally blow up a star. I've got money on next rotation. The signal originated from Kagrov 9, a death world so hostile that even the bacteria there could probably wage war. Category 7 hazard rating. Gravity that'll compress your organs, atmosphere thick with sulfuric compounds, and fauna that evolved specifically to make visiting researchers regret their career choices. We should report this to the council, Dax said, already knowing I wouldn't listen. And let some poor fool die while we file paperwork? Pull us in. Dax's eye stalks drooped in resignation. He knew me too well. The descent through Kagrov 9's atmosphere rattled our ship like a child's toy. Through the viewscreen, I could see the planet's surface, a nightmare of jagged mountains, boiling lakes, and forests where the trees had teeth. Actual teeth. Evolution on this rock had taken several wrong turns and kept going. The beacon led us to a crash site near the equatorial wasteland. What remained of a human exploration vessel was scattered across half a kilometer, pieces of hull embedded in the volcanic rock like metal flowers. No way anyone survived this. Life signs? I asked, not hopeful. Dax checked his instruments, then double-checked them. Then checked them a third time. 1. Human. Approximately 2 kilometers north. Vital signs are stable? That can't be right. Nothing about humans is right. Let's retrieve the body. We suited up, our environmental gear groaning under Kagrov 9's crushing gravity. The air outside smelled like burning metal and regret. In the distance, something roared, the sound echoing across the barren landscape like thunder. I hate this planet, Dax whispered. Everyone hates this planet. The planet probably hates itself. We trudged north, our suit's servos whining with each step. The human signal remained stationary, which meant either he was injured or dead, and our sensors were reading ghost patterns. Both seemed equally likely. What we found defied every probability calculation I've ever run. The human sat on a flat rock, legs crossed, eating something that still had scales on it. Eating it raw. He looked up as we approached, and I got my first good look at him. Mid-30s, maybe. Human age is hard to gauge. Beard growing wild, hair sun-bleached and tangled. His clothes were shredded, held together by what appeared to be vine-like plant matter and determination. Scars covered his visible skin like a roadmap of terrible decisions. Oh, hey, he said, tossing aside the half-eaten creature. Visitors. You guys here for the show? Dax and I exchanged glances through our helmet displays. The show? I asked carefully, checking for signs of cognitive damage. Humans sometimes go insane when isolated. Actually, they sometimes start insane, so it's hard to tell. Yeah, you know. The experiment. The test. He stood, stretching like he'd just woken from a nap rather than survived a catastrophic crash on a death world. I'm Marcus Hayes, by the way. Earth Expeditionary Force. Former member, I guess. You're aware your ship crashed? Dax said, stating the obvious because he panics under stress. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. The sound echoed off the rocks, and something in the distance answered with a hunting cry. Crashed? Oh, buddy, that was a drop-off. Very intentional. See, my commanders had this brilliant idea. They wanted to test human endurance, adaptability, survival instincts. All that good stuff. So they picked the worst planet they could find and marooned me here with nothing but basic supplies and a knife. He patted a wicked-looking blade at his hip. Supplies ran out 37 days ago. Been making do since. My brain refused to process this information properly. Your own species abandoned you here. On purpose. For science. Marcus said cheerfully. And because Command has a dark sense of humor. They said if I survived 60 days, they'd pick me up. Consider me proven worthy of special operations, all that tactical nonsense. 60 days, I repeated, my voice flat. On Kagrov 9. Yeah, we're on day 43, so I've got a bit more to go. You guys want some food? I've got extra. He gestured to a makeshift camp behind the rock. Shelters made from ship debris and bones. Actual bones. Large ones. Fair warning, the local cuisine takes some getting used to. Everything tastes like angry. Dax made a choking sound. How are you alive? Stubbornness, mostly. Also, I made a friend. That's when I heard it. A low rumbling growl that vibrated through my environmental suit. From behind a cluster of jagged boulders emerged a creature that featured prominently in my nightmares after reading Kagrov 9's fauna reports. A Skorrath. Apex predator. 4 meters of scaled muscle, 6 legs ending in obsidian claws, mouth full of rotating teeth like some organic chainsaw. They hunt in packs, show no fear, and once locked onto prey, they never stop pursuing it. This one had a collar made of braided vine around its neck. That's Luna, Marcus said, waving at the murder machine. Short for lunar eclipse, because she's dark and terrifying. Isn't she beautiful? The Skorrath, Luna apparently, padded over to Marcus and made a sound somewhere between a purr and a garbage disposal. He scratched behind where I assumed its ears were, though calling anything on that creature cute felt like a crime against linguistics. You domesticated a Skorrath, I said, my voice hollow. Domesticated is a strong word. We have an understanding. I saved her from a territorial dispute with a bigger Skorrath. Pulled a piece of volcanic glass out of her leg. After that, she decided I was pack. Now she helps me hunt, keeps other predators away, and occasionally lets me use her as a pillow. She's warm and terrifying, which is my preferred combination. Luna's eyes fixed on Dax and me, evaluating. Calculating. Deciding if we were threats or snacks. Easy, girl, Marcus said, and impossibly, the creature relaxed. They're friends. Probably. We detected your emergency beacon, I managed to say, trying to regain some semblance of professional composure. We thought you needed rescue. Oh, that old thing. It activated automatically during the crash. I figured someone would eventually check it out. You're the first, though. Most species have better survival instincts than to land here voluntarily. He grinned, and there was something feral in it. Something that suggested Kagrov 9 had changed him. Honestly, I'm doing fine. Better than fine. I've mapped most of the local territory, cataloged 17 new species, learned which plants are edible and which ones try to eat you back, and established dominance over this entire valley. Dominance, Dax repeated weakly. The other predators know now. This is my space. Well, my and Luna's space. We share. As if to emphasize the point, another roar echoed from somewhere west. Luna's head snapped toward the sound, and she roared back, a sound that rattled my bones despite the suit's audio dampening. The distant roar cut off abruptly. See? Respect. Marcus looked proud. Genuinely proud. This human had been abandoned on a death world, survived on wit and violence, befriended something that could tear through battle armor, and somehow looked healthier than most station personnel I'd encountered. Your people left you here to die, I said, needing him to understand the gravity of his situation. They left me here to see if I could survive. Big difference. His expression hardened slightly. And yeah, it's messed up. Command plays dangerous games with dangerous people. But here's the thing about humans, Krell. Yeah, I know your name. Your ship's ID broadcasts it. Here's the thing. We don't give up. We don't quit. You drop us in hell, we make friends with the devils and renovate. That's insane. That's humanity. He smiled again, and Luna pressed against his side like an oversized, lethal pet. Now, you guys staying for dinner? I've got this technique for cooking gripper worm that really brings out the flavors. Only a 30% chance of intestinal distress. I looked at Dax. Dax looked at me. We'd come to rescue a stranded human and found something else entirely. Not a victim. Not someone broken by isolation and danger, found someone who'd conquered a world that ate spaceships for breakfast, and the truly terrifying part? He still had 17 days to go. We should report this, Dax said over our private comm channel, his voice pitched higher than usual. The council needs to know about this. About him. I watched Marcus scratch Luna under what might have been her chin while she made sounds that would haunt my dreams for years. Report what exactly? That humanity's insane enough to abandon their own on-death worlds and those abandoned are insane enough to thrive? Yes. Exactly that. Marcus noticed our silent communication and laughed. You two plotting? I can see your helmet lights flickering. Look, I get it. This is weird. But you flew all the way out here, probably broke a dozen safety regulations, might as well stick around and see how the other half lives. Besides, Luna gets lonely. She could use some new faces to not eat. The Skorrath's eyes fixed on me with what I desperately hoped was curiosity rather than appetite. Against every screaming instinct for self-preservation, we stayed. Marcus's camp turned out to be more sophisticated than I'd initially observed. He'd carved out a shelter in a natural cave formation, reinforced with pieces of his destroyed ship. Inside, the walls were covered with markings. Not random scratches of a deteriorating mind, but detailed maps, astronomical calculations, behavioral notes on local fauna. The man had essentially written a survival guide using charcoal and blood. "Welcome to Casa de Crazy," Marcus said, gesturing around. "It's not much, but it keeps the acid rain out." "Mostly." "Acid rain," Dax whispered, horror creeping into his voice. "Oh yeah, every third day like clockwork. Burns like fire if it touches skin. First week here, I learned that lesson the hard way." He pointed to scars on his arm. "Now I just wait it out in here with Luna. We play games." "Games," I repeated. "With the apex predator?" "Sure. Fetch, mostly. Though fetch on Kagrov 9 involves her bringing back things that are usually still alive and angry. Really keeps you on your toes." Luna settled near the cave entrance, her massive form blocking most of the light. A living security system that occasionally demanded belly rubs. Marcus started a fire using stones that sparked on contact, another impossible thing that shouldn't work but did because apparently physics bent around human stubbornness. He skewered several creatures that looked like a nightmare crossbreed between an eel and a porcupine. "So," he said, rotating the skewers over flames, "what brings the Vexian exploratory corps to this corner of misery? You guys don't usually respond to human distress calls. No offense, but our species isn't exactly popular." "Your reputation precedes you," I admitted. "But we investigate all signals in our patrol zone." "Protocol. Protocol." Marcus snorted. "I remember protocol. Back before my commanding officer decided I'd make a great test subject. You know what the last thing she said to me was? 'Good luck, Hayes. Try not to die too quickly. We've got bets running.' The casual way he mentioned it made my skin crawl beneath my suit. That's barbaric. That's military black ops. They wanted to see what humans could really do when pushed. Could we adapt to the worst environments? Could we survive without technology or support? Could we turn death worlds into home?" He pulled a skewer from the fire, examined the charred meat, and took a bite. "Turns out, yeah. We can." "At what cost?" Dax asked quietly. Marcus paused, something darker crossing his expression. "That's the real question, isn't it? What does survival cost? I've eaten things that probably had more intelligence than I gave them credit for. I've fought creatures in the dark using nothing but rock and rage. I've screamed at the sky during storms just to hear my own voice over the thunder. I've forgotten what coffee tastes like, what music sounds like, what it feels like to sleep without expecting something to try eating you." He gestured to Luna. "And I've bonded with something that, on any civilized world, would be locked in a maximum security containment facility." Luna made a sound that might have been agreement. "But I'm alive," Marcus continued. "And that counts for something. When they come to pick me up in 17 days, they're going to find exactly what they wanted. A human who can survive anywhere. Do anything. Become anything necessary." His eyes met mine through my helmet visor. "That's what scares the galaxy about us, right? Not our technology or our weapons. It's our adaptability. Drop us in poison, we develop immunity. Throw us in darkness, we learn to see. Abandon us on hellworlds, we make pets of demons." "You sound proud of that," I said. "Should I be ashamed? My species crawled out of a world that tried to kill us at every evolutionary step. Predators, plagues, natural disasters, ice ages, droughts. We survived all of it through sheer spite and ingenuity. This?" He waved at the cave entrance, at Kagrov 9 beyond. "This is just Tuesday for humanity. Scaled up, sure, but fundamentally the same game. Survive, adapt, overcome." A roar split the evening air, different from the others. Closer. More aggressive. Luna's head snapped up, her body tensing. "That's new," Marcus said, setting down his food. "That's a challenge roar. Someone's feeling brave." "Someone?" Dax asked. "Another Skorrath. Bigger one, based on the pitch. Probably caught Luna's scent, figured there's a rival in his territory." Marcus stood, checking his knife. "This should be interesting." "You're not going out there," I said, though even as I spoke, I knew it was pointless. "Luna's my pack. She defended me, I defend her. That's how it works." He moved toward the cave entrance, and Luna rose to join him. "You two stay here. This won't take long." He walked into the dying light of Kagrov 9's twin suns, and I did the stupidest thing I've ever done. I followed him. Dax cursed in Vexian and followed me. The Challenger emerged from between rock formations. Bigger than Luna, scarred and massive. Its roar shook the ground beneath our feet. Luna roared back, positioning herself between Marcus and the threat. "Easy, girl," Marcus said, his voice calm. "We've got this." What happened next defied everything I knew about xenobiology. The larger Skorrath charged, a mountain of scales and claws moving with terrifying speed. Luna met it halfway, the collision sounding like a ship crash. They tumbled, biting and tearing at each other in a display of raw violence, and Marcus ran into the fight, not away from it. Into it, he rolled under a sweeping claw, came up beside the larger Skorrath's flank, and drove his knife into the soft spot behind its foreleg. The creature screamed, whirling on him. Luna took advantage, clamping her jaws on its throat. Left side, Marcus shouted, and Luna pulled, exposing the Challenger's vulnerable underbelly. Marcus didn't hesitate. He struck again, precise and brutal. The fight lasted maybe 30 seconds. The larger Skorrath collapsed, still breathing but defeated. Luna kept her jaws locked until it went still, then released it with a satisfied growl. Marcus knelt beside the fallen predator, placing a hand on its scales. "You fought well. No shame in losing." Then he stood and nodded to Luna. "Let him go. He won't challenge again." The defeated Skorrath limped away into the darkening landscape, and Luna watched it go without pursuit. Marcus turned to us, breathing hard but grinning. "See? Teamwork." "You're completely insane," Dax said, his voice hollow. "Probably. But I'm alive." He wiped his knife clean on his torn pants. "And Luna knows I'll fight for her, just like she fights for me. That's trust. That's pack." We returned to the cave in stunned silence. Marcus resumed eating like he hadn't just participated in a battle that should have killed him 3 times over. "Your people are going to pick you up in 17 days, I said finally. "What then?" Marcus stared into the fire. "Then they take me back, debrief me, study me, probably send me somewhere worse to see if I can survive that too. Rinse and repeat until I'm either dead or too useful to throw away." "And Luna?" His jaw tightened. "That's the part I'm still figuring out. Can't exactly bring her aboard a military vessel. Can't leave her here alone. She's packed now. You could stay," the words left my mouth before I could stop them. "Request asylum. The Vexian Exploratory Corps has protocols for situations like this. Situations like befriending Death World apex predators after being abandoned. Situations involving unethical treatment of sentient species by their own governments." Marcus looked at me for a long moment. "You'd do that? Risk diplomatic incidents with humanity over one stranded soldier?" "I'd document what I've seen here. Let the council decide. But yes. I'd argue for it." "Why?" "Because what your command did is wrong. And because the galaxy needs to understand what humanity is capable of, both the good and the terrifying." Marcus smiled, genuinely smiled. "I appreciate that, Krell. Really. But I need to see this through. When they pick me up, I want to look my commanders in the eye and show them exactly what they created." He scratched Luna's scales. "And maybe, just maybe, I can change some protocols. Make sure no one else gets dropped on a hell world just to satisfy someone's curiosity." "Noble," Dax said. "Stupid, but noble. Story of my species." We spent the night in that cave, taking turns on watch while Marcus slept with a Skorrath curled around him like the galaxy's most dangerous blanket. In the morning, we left him supplies, medical equipment, and a communicator that could reach our ship. 17 days, Marcus said as we prepared to leave. "If something goes wrong, if they don't come, I'll call. We'll be listening," I promised. As our ship lifted from Kagrov 9's hostile surface, I looked back at the shrinking figure standing beside his impossible companion. A human who'd turned abandonment into triumph, isolation into partnership, and a death world into home. "The council is never going to believe this," Dax said. "Then we show them the recordings. Let them see what happens when you push humanity too far." "What do you think happens?" I watched Kagrov 9 disappear into the viewport. "They don't break. They domesticate the things meant to kill them and make the impossible look easy." 17 days later, Marcus Hayes was retrieved from Kagrov 9. Luna went with him. Command tried to separate them once. The incident report is still classified, but rumor says 3 security officers needed medical attention and a reinforced door needed replacing. They let Luna stay, and somewhere in the galaxy, on stations and ships and worlds, people whisper about the human who conquered Kagrov 9. Not with weapons or technology, but with stubbornness, courage, and the insane ability to make friends with monsters, humanity had been tested. The results terrified everyone, but not enough to stop watching, because the real question remained unanswered: what would they do next?